I'm back, and bloody hell, there's a lot to talk about. So let's start with this one. Is Meghan Markle set to lose her precious Sussex title after that disastrous Prince Harry BBC interview? Let's put it this way, it's not looking good for the gruesome twosome, and their time merching their titles may actually be coming to an end. Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef, the alternate, your nerdy alternative, and welcome to the Dose of the Daily Nerd, where I break down the royal news and gossip of the day that's pretty much caught my eye. And oh my goodness, yeah, let's jump into this madness, shall we? Because is Meghan Markle set to lose her precious Sussex title? And it all being Prince Harry's fault with that disastrous BBC interview? Well, when you look at this article and the poll that it's referencing, I think it's only a matter of time now, because here we've got the Daily Mail confirming that most Brits in the UK now are saying strip Hazard and Megxie of their titles, take them away, goodbye, finito, after that disastrous Prince Harry BBC interview, and now they're getting all the backlash that they deserve, as far as I'm concerned, at this point. But it's not only just getting backlash from the public here, but it's also backlash from the ministers and the royal family for his awful attack on King Charles and the rest of the royal family themselves. He's caused widespread disbelief and just shock and anger from this interview that he did last week, saying that King Charles won't speak to him and that he's a victim of, quote, an establishment stitch-up. Now, stay tuned for my next video because, oh my goodness, thanks to a Twitter account out there, they've provided the receipts to prove that this ain't an establishment stitch-up, okay? That Hazard is lying. Moreover, they found Hazard's own court documents proving this is no establishment stitch-up and that, if anything, for some reason, the royal family wanted him to still have the security. Stay tuned for the next video because, oh my goodness, that is going to be so explosive and blow that lie wide open. In the meantime, is Meghan Markle set to lose her precious Sussex title, with it all being Prince Harry's fault with that disastrous BBC interview? It sure seems that way, because according to a survey that Daily Mail's quoted from Find Out Now, they're saying that 64% of voters are backing King Charles and that only 36% are supporting Prince Hazard. So nearly 2/3 of the public polled are turning around and saying, strip the titles. Get them away from them now. They're lost. They're donezo. Goodbye. They don't want to be royal anymore. They want to be private citizens. Well, they can say goodbye to the titles, because nearly 2/3 of the public that were polled are telling everyone we don't want them to have the titles anymore. Now, I've been screaming this for a couple of years now. A lot of people have. And it's great to see now that the majority of the public are on board with this. And this is all Prince Hazard's fault. Because if he didn't do that disastrous BBC interview, this poll wouldn't have happened in the first place. He's just screwed it for Megxie and her precious title. Because now that the public are really on board and that there's evidence that the majority of the public are turning round and saying, strip their titles, well, we're only now a hop, skip and jump away from the royal family for doing that. Because I reported only a couple of months ago that the royal family, for some reason, King Charles in particular, were scared to remove their titles because they were worried about the public backlash. Well, there's not going to be any public backlash now, especially when the majority of the public don't want them to have the titles anymore. So that concern can go well out of the window. You see where I'm coming from there, guys? Now, palace insiders have also rallied against the BBC for letting Prince Hazard's outrageous claims go unchallenged. So much so that the BBC have actually turned around and apologised and said, oh yeah, our bad, we should have challenged him more. So, let me get this straight, guys, right? Hazard and Prince William, right, quite rightly so, have complained about the interview that Martin Bashir did all those years ago in the 90s with Princess Diana. Won't go into the ins and outs of it, but you guys should know what I'm talking about there, right? Princess Diana, their mother, unfortunately, unwittingly, being in a dodgy interview with the BBC. Fast forward like 30 odd years later, and now Hazza is involved in a dodgy BBC interview. You can't make this shiz up. What the freaking hell? Wow. And so here, royal biographer and historian A.N. Wilson said, quote, "You keep thinking Meghan and Harry can't get any worse, and then they do." He added that since Meg's arrival, Hazza, quote, "a largely popular merry prince who served his country in Afghanistan with courage and good humour, has become estranged from the British public. Now he's a humourless whinger, adrift from his former friends, and speaks in the Californian psychobabble that Meghan has picked up amongst her ghastly Montecito neighbours. It cannot continue. The king should strip them of the right to dignify themselves by their royal titles. Not just the HRH, but their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles. They should become simply Mr. and Mrs. Windsor, free to sink into their pathetic, unloved, sunlit exile and the decades of pointless boredom that stretch ahead, a hell entirely of their own making." Pretty much took the words out of my mouth. Not much more to say there, right, guys? But in a Mail on Sunday poll conducted by Find Out Now, 67% of people are saying that they would like to see Hazza and Meg's titles formally removed. So the royal family now have the public support to remove their titles. All because Prince Hazza decided, with his own ego and hubris, thought, you know what would be a best idea in the whole wide world? Do an interview with the BBC. He should have asked Prince Andrew first about his thoughts of whether he should have done that BBC interview or not. I think Prince Andrew has a few things to say about that, don't you, guys? But 33%, when I could get my teeth back in, are disagreeing. So a third of people polled are turning around and saying, no, they shouldn't lose their title. Well, the majority are now saying, remove their titles. The poll also found that nearly 2/3 of voters back King Charles over Prince Hazza in the latest row. And so here I found Always Complain, Always Explain at Chrono Royals, sharing this clip from GB News. And this is Will Kingston. And he's saying that Prince Harry's latest BBC interview shows that he's not just clueless, but dangerous. And he also calls on King Charles to strip Hazza and Megxit of their titles. Now, this is a 1 minute and 45-second clip. I'm going to play it right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another round of the "Is Harry malicious or just incredibly thick" game.
Both. I would say he's malicious and he's thick at the same time. You can be both.
As an aside, when I put that out on Twitter, the overwhelming response was both. I've always thought the latter. I've always thought he's just a bit of a thicko who doesn't really understand the consequences of his actions. I've changed my position this week to the former. I think he is malicious, I think he is dangerous, and I think he is a threat to the monarchy. This comes after...
See, a lot of people have changed their position since this disastrous BBC interview and since Meg's podcast interview last week as well with Jamie Lima Kern or whatever, right? I saw on Twitter Perez Hilton turning around and saying, you know what, I've changed my mind about them now. They're not doing any favours, really. Hazza and Megxit should just fade into obscurity. That's the best thing for them now.
After an extraordinary BBC interview that he did this week after his case in the courts to try and squeeze money out of the taxpayers failed. We have that clip ready to go. Let's see it.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Of course they don't want to reconcile. He keeps blabbing his mouth. Oh, shiz the freaking bed. What the hell? What the hell? Of course they don't want to reconcile. They can't trust him as far as they can freaking throw him.
There were several other extraordinary moments, and here's the thing. Harry knows. He must know that there is a long-standing principle in the royal family that they don't air their dirty laundry in public. He knows that these sorts of comments would hurt the king. He knows that the media, yes, including GB News, picks up this sort of stuff and speculates upon it. He does it anyway for his own ego and his own self-gratification. Now, in times gone by, strong leaders in this country dealt with unruly family members by chopping their heads off. Now, for better or worse, times have moved on, but there is something that this king...
Do you know what? This is a joke, okay? So anyone that wants to try and put this out of context, you know, screw off. But do you know what? If we lived in old times, yeah, ye olde times, I wouldn't complain if the king was like, off with his head. I wouldn't at all. I'm just... There you go.
King, if he has guts, still can do, and that is strip this grifter of his titles immediately, as well as his grifter wife, because they do not deserve them. Ladies and...
There you go. There you go. All because of this disastrous BBC interview. The majority of people now are turning around and saying, strip their titles. But it ain't just the public as well. It's now the mainstream media that's turning around and jumping on board with this and saying, strip their titles. And guys, their time merching their titles may be coming to an end because this story will not go away. It's coming up time and time again, where the story goes, King Charles won't strip the titles, but when Prince William ascends to the throne, oh, he is going to take action against Harry and Meghan, and he will strip those titles. So, guys, going around full circle, is Meghan Markle set to lose her precious Sussex title, and it all being Prince Harry's fault with that disastrous BBC interview? I think they're one step closer. What do you guys think? With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, believe me, of course, there's going to be more. You do not want to miss my next video. I'm going to be exposing Harry and his lie that the royal family didn't want him to have the security. His lie is exposed with his own court documents, guys. So if you don't want to miss my next video then make sure you subscribe to join our alternate tribe, like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. If Meghan is now going to lose her precious Sussex title, will it now be all Prince Harry's fault with that disastrous BBC interview? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate all your faces. And until the next time, you guys, laters.